Chapter 1: The Quiet Crisis of Modern Life. Every single day, millions of people make promises to themselves. They promise that tomorrow will be the day everything changes. The day they finally wake up early, stop procrastinating, commit to training, become focused. And for a few hours, they believe it. They imagine the version of themselves they want to become. Disciplined, consistent, in control. But then something happens. The alarm rings and they hit snooze. They sit down to work but open social media first. They tell themselves they'll start in 10 minutes. And somehow, those 10 minutes become hours. By the end of the day, the promise is broken again. And after enough broken promises, something dangerous begins to happen. People stop trusting themselves. They start believing discipline is something other people are born with, something reserved for elite performers, something they simply do not have. But the truth is far more unsettling. This is not a personal failure. This is the result of living in an environment perfectly engineered to weaken discipline. And most people don't even realize it is happening. Chapter 2: The human brain was built for a different world. To understand why discipline feels so difficult today, you first have to understand the world the human brain was designed for. For nearly all of human history, life was defined by scarcity. Food was uncertain. Comfort was limited. Rewards were delayed. Survival required effort. Humans had to move constantly. They had to endure discomfort. They had to persist through uncertainty. And because of this, the brain evolved systems designed to push action. Motivation was not random. It was biological. When early humans worked towards something valuable, food, shelter, safety, the brain rewarded that effort. This reward came through dopamine, a chemical signal that reinforced pursuit. It encouraged patience, consistency, persistence. The brain learned effort leads to reward, and for thousands of years this system worked perfectly. But then the environment changed faster than biology could adapt, and suddenly the brain designed for delayed reward was placed inside a world of instant gratification. Chapter 3: How Instant Gratification Rewired Motivation. Modern life gives rewards instantly, and the human brain was never prepared for that. With one tap, you can receive entertainment, validation, novelty, pleasure, without effort, without patience, without resistance. A single swipe can deliver something new. A notification can create anticipation. A short video can trigger excitement, and every one of these experiences activates dopamine. The problem is not dopamine itself. Dopamine is essential. It drives ambition, learning, progress. The problem is artificial overstimulation. When dopamine is triggered too frequently by low-effort rewards, the brain begins adapting. It raises its stimulation threshold, and once that threshold rises, ordinary effort feels painfully unrewarding. Suddenly, reading feels exhausting, studying feels impossible, exercise feels boring, long-term goals feel emotionally flat. Not because those things lost value, but because the brain has been conditioned to expect immediate stimulation. Chapter 4: The Dopamine Economy. Modern technology is not neutral. It is designed to compete for your attention. Entire industries are built around one objective: keeping your brain engaged for as long as possible. Every platform studies human psychology. Every feature is refined to maximize retention. Infinite scroll, autoplay, notifications, algorithmic recommendations. These are not accidental conveniences. They are behavioral engineering systems. Their purpose is simple: to keep you consuming. Because attention is now one of the most profitable resources in the world. And when billions of dollars are spent learning how to capture human attention, discipline is no longer just a personal challenge. It becomes a biological battle. That is like bringing a candle into a hurricane. Chapter 5: Why Comfort Makes You Mentally Weaker. Discipline is built through resistance. It grows when humans repeatedly experience discomfort and continue anyway. This is how mental resilience develops. Every difficult workout, every early morning, every moment of delayed gratification. These experiences train the nervous system to tolerate discomfort. But modern life removes resistance. Cold becomes climate control. Hunger becomes instant delivery. Boredom becomes entertainment. Waiting becomes obsolete. And when discomfort disappears from daily life, so does the ability to tolerate it. This matters because discipline always begins where comfort ends. Every meaningful goal requires discomfort. If a person never trains their discomfort tolerance, discipline will always feel unbearable. Chapter 6: Attention Fragmentation is Destroying Focus. Discipline requires sustained attention, and attention is becoming weaker. Modern life constantly interrupts thought. A message arrives, a notification appears, a vibration pulls awareness away. The brain shifts focus, then shifts again and again. This constant switching comes with a cost. Cognitive energy drains, focus weakens, mental clarity decreases. Over time, the brain adapts to distraction itself. Deep concentration begins to feel uncomfortable. Stillness feels unnatural. Silence feels unsettling. And when the mind cannot stay present, discipline becomes nearly impossible, because discipline is not not simply the ability to act, it is the ability to remain engaged long enough to complete meaningful action. Chapter 7, this is why willpower keeps failing. Most people believe discipline is about trying harder, using more willpower, forcing themselves forward. But willpower is temporary. It is a limited resource. It becomes weaker under stress. It fades with fatigue. And in a world filled with constant stimulation, interruption, and temptation, willpower is exhausted before most people even begin. That is why motivation fades so quickly, and why relying on it almost always fails. The issue is that modern life systematically drains the very mental energy discipline depends on. Discipline feels impossible today, not because humans became weaker, but because the modern world became stronger at capturing attention than the human brain was ever designed to resist. And until that system is understood, most people will keep blaming themselves for a battle they were never prepared to fight. Chapter 8, discipline is not born, it is built. One of the biggest lies people believe is this, that disciplined people are simply different. But discipline is not a personality trait, it is a trained adaptation. No one is born waking up at 5 a.m. No one is born loving discomfort. No one naturally chooses effort over ease every single day. Discipline is built the same way physical strength is built, through repeated exposure, small acts of resistance, daily repetition. The brain adapts to whatever it experiences consistently. If it repeatedly experiences distraction, it becomes better at being distracted. If it repeatedly experiences avoidance, it becomes better at escaping discomfort. But if it repeatedly experiences effort, focus, and controlled resistance, it becomes stronger at discipline. This changes everything, because it means discipline is not something you either have or don't have. It is something you train, and like any skill, it grows through practice. Chapter 9, the first step is rebuilding attention. Before discipline can be rebuilt, attention must be restored, and modern distraction has deeply damaged this ability. The brain has become addicted to novelty. It expects stimulation every few seconds. Silence feels uncomfortable. Stillness feels unnatural. This is why many people cannot sit with one task for even 10 minutes. Their attention system has been fragmented. The solution is deliberate attention training, not extreme changes. Working without checking your phone for 15 minutes. Reading without interruption. Sitting in silence. Walking without stimulation. These moments may feel uncomfortable at first. That discomfort is important. It is evidence that attention is being retrained, and over time, the mind becomes calmer, more capable of sustained focus. Discipline begins there. Chapter 10, why you must learn to tolerate discomfort. Every meaningful transformation begins with discomfort. There is no way around it. The body resists effort. The mind resists uncertainty. The nervous system seeks comfort. This is natural, but discipline requires moving forward despite resistance, and that ability depends on discomfort tolerance. This is why small acts of voluntary discomfort are so powerful. Taking the cold shower, finishing the final set, waking up when it feels easier to stay in bed, putting the phone down when the urge to scroll appears. These moments seem small, but neurologically, they are profound. Each time discomfort is faced instead of avoided, the brain learns something critical: discomfort is survivable. And once the brain learns that, resistance loses power. Over time, what once felt unbearable becomes normal. Chapter 11, systems beat motivation every time. Most people rely on motivation. They wait to feel inspired. They wait to feel ready. They wait for the perfect mental state. And this is why they fail. Motivation is emotional, and emotions are unstable. Some days motivation is high, other days it disappears completely. Discipline cannot depend on something so temporary. What works is systems. Systems remove decision-making. They reduce mental friction. They make action automatic. A fixed wake-up time, a scheduled workout, a designated workspace, a phone placed outside the room. Disciplined people are rarely relying on willpower. They are relying on systems that make discipline easier. What looks like extraordinary self-control is often simply smart structure. Chapter 12, environment shapes behavior. Human behavior is deeply influenced by surroundings. The environment silently dictates action. If distraction is always visible, attention will be pulled toward it. If temptation is always accessible, resistance becomes harder. This is why environment design is essential. Want to read more? Keep books visible. Want to reduce phone use? Remove it from reach. Want to train consistently? Prepare everything in advance. The brain follows cues. It responds automatically to what surrounds it. This means discipline is not just internal, it is environmental. Changing surroundings changes behavior, and often changing behavior begins by changing what the brain sees every day. Chapter 13, consistency rewires identity. The most powerful effect of discipline is not productivity, it is identity transformation. Every repeated action sends a message to the brain. Each completed workout says, I am someone who trains. Each focused work session says, I am someone who follows through, each resisted distraction says, I am someone who controls attention. And over time, these repeated signals become self-image. This matters because behavior always tries to stay consistent with identity. When discipline becomes part of how someone sees themselves, action becomes easier. Chapter 14, The Modern Advantage. The same world that makes discipline difficult also makes discipline powerful. Because in an environment filled with distraction, focus becomes rare, and rarity creates advantage. The person who can control attention, who can tolerate discomfort, who can act consistently without immediate reward, will always stand apart. Modern life has made discipline harder, but it has also made disciplined people more powerful than ever before, because what is uncommon becomes valuable. Discipline is not about becoming someone else. It is about reclaiming the focus modern life slowly stole. It is the process of rebuilding control. The world profits from your distraction. Your discipline is rebellion.